So as I was saying, the private sector is maturing to an extent that it can pull off space missions entirely on its own. It has the necessary technological wherewithal. It has the means to pick up money from the capital market. And that's why we see they are assuming a greater role in this new space age, which I've been calling as Space 2.0.
Mhm.
And since it is concomitant with Industry 4.0, uh, it, it, the new technologies that the private sector is bringing in is very much different from what we've seen in the past. So there is a immense amount of artificial intelligence, robotics, there's immense amount of machine learning, and it is less mechanical and more digital in nature.
So, of course, for those of us old enough to remember, not yourself, but perhaps myself, we had the space race in the 1960s between the USSR and the USA. Are we going to see kind of a space race amongst the private sector companies that are involved in this with machine learning, AI, robotics, all of these technologies deployed?
Yeah, we'll be seeing another space race, but this time it will be multipolar. Uh, the intensity will be higher in the race between the China-led coalition and the US-led coalition. But there will be other players like India who are neutral, who do not belong to either of the blocs. Then
Right.
there are countries like France, and each of them will vie for a pie of this cake. The race will be intense, but at the same time, such intense phases of technological competitions have always pushed the envelope for humanity. So, for instance, all the technologies that came out of the Second World War eventually helped us humans understand the DNA. The discovery was DNA was in 1958. Semiconductors came immediately after the World War. The space age came after the World War. The age of plastics came after the Second World War. So these are tumultuous times in terms of conflict on the planet. But uh, as we cross this phase in the history, we'll be jumping into an entirely new world.
You've written about the space economy and how it should include planetary protection. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
We've just come out of a pandemic, or we are almost coming out of it. And we've seen the fact that we still don't understand how how microorganisms operate. How do we survive with such lethal microorganisms here on Earth? Exactly the same way, we still don't know what happens to microorganisms if they are taken to outer space and brought back. So all the words that we've heard in the past 2 years, which is contamination, quarantine, isolation, these are all, you know, uh, they have always been used in human space flight.
Mhm.
So we do not want to forward contaminate uh, celestial bodies, taking microorganisms from here uh, to all these celestial places. So we would want to prevent the forward contamination, and we would certainly would not want to bring microorganisms that have been exposed to extraterrestrial conditions, be it radiation, microgravity, and whatnot, and bring them back, because we would not know how they would change, and how they would affect life here on Earth, for us as well as for other beings that have never been exposed to such uh, microorganisms that have lived in outer space. So that's why there is a immense need for us to take measures to protect the planet from such activities. Now, all this did not matter much during the first space age, because seldom did we go out in outer space. but with greater frequency, with more number of countries joining space exploration and carrying out space activities, the frequency with which microorganisms can be transmitted
Right.
into outer space and brought back will
Right.
be much, much higher.